Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. Warmly welcome to all of you with the vlog number 2 of our video series. Started with an important training topic, hazardous area classification. And in the introductory part, if you have seen V1 or the vlog number 1, you would have a clear understanding what exactly we are going to talk about, like all 9 modules. Now, my question is, any one of you is familiar uh, the key words of all 9 modules? What exactly the 9 important words we are going to learn? Any one of you is remembering something, or at least uh, for what type of hazardous energies we use, zone 1 or zone 2 or zone 3, or in other words, zone 0, zone 1, 2, and on the other side, 20 and 21 and 22 for the combustible gases, or on the other side, combustible dust, in other words. So in that context, if you don't remember, you can see on the, it's quite visible, for the gases and the vapors, we use zone 0, zone 1 and 2. And for combustible dust, we use 20 and 21 and 22. But in the module section, if you remember, we have discussed 9 important modules, and we are going to start with module number 1. My question is, who remembers those 9 modules, the topics of those 9 modules? Any one of you? Because as I requested you, you have to be focused if you are a passionate learner. Otherwise, don't waste your time if you're not a serious learner, by the way. But I'm sure if you are a good learner, you will definitely not be missing the important words. So can you just name some of the modules in the comment section? Otherwise, I'm going to start with module 1. So if you are new to our channel, Training Zone is kind of our daily learning club. Like me, you will also be learning, inshallah. So subscribe, like, and share. And let's start with module number 1. Because by the end of this learning, surely you have to be capable uh, and understanding the concept of hazardous areas. And most importantly, how we're going to define what constitute a hazardous area and the risk involved. What kind of risk could be there in a hazardous area, and how do we constitute and define and identify, and we can nominate, declare, and make it restricted area as a hazardous area, in other words, based on what technical concepts. That's all we're going to discuss, inshallah, in this vlog. And most importantly, identify the sources of ignition and the types of explosive atmospheres. We also we're going to discuss about explain the importance of area classification and risk management. Let me ask one simple question. What is risk? Okay, before that, even you can highlight as per your understanding, as per your experience, what is hazard, what is risk, and what is the difference between hazard and risk. I'm just waiting your comments in the comment section. No shyness, no hesitations. Whatever is coming in your mind as per your understanding, just mention there. Otherwise, of course, I'll be discussing you. But those concepts related to risk, hazards, if you will not understand, it would be really hard to understand the module 1, because so whenever we talk about concepts, if your concepts are clear, you are the best gentleman as a safety leader or as an engineer serving to high hazardous industries. So I have, let me repeat again, what is hazard, what is risk, and what is the difference between hazard and risk? So 3 important questions. Let me know what's coming in your mind. Don't search on Google, no AI. I'm talking to your experience. I'm talking to your mentally, or I'm talking to your brain actually. So whatever intelligence, professional intelligence you have, based on your professional intelligence, you can give the answer. And let me repeat, no hesitation, no shyness, no blame, shame. Just share, and sharing is caring. Might be your definition is more productive than anybody else. So sharing is caring, right? So share as per your understanding what is risk, what is hazard, and what is the difference between hazard and risk. And since we're going to discuss about the hazardous area and the risk involved, now another question rise up here. If you're working in oil and gas industry, can you name some of the hazardous areas? Can you ask your brain based on your experience and highlight some of the names of hazardous areas at your project site, or either you're working in oil refineries, or gas plants, or gas oil separation plants, or oil and rig sites, or you are working in a pipeline industries, or you are part of the construction industries, like you are involved in excavation and so many other activities. So in that context I'm talking about, and I'm asking, do you have some understanding? Can you prepare a list of hazardous areas, you know, or the restricted areas? And then the question will come in our mind, who is responsible to define this is the restricted area or hazardous area? Or and then we will talk about what risk can be involved there. Okay, like if any confined spaces there in shape of tanks, in shape of pipelines, or barge compartments, you know we can say, oh, these are the hazardous areas. Or if you have a gas distribution network, and you are a gas distribution company, or oil distribution company, or oil storage company, or oil transporting company. So how are you going to define your hazardous areas? I'm just giving you a chance of brainstorming, because once we shake up our mind and we go for the brainstorming, our mind start giving us a lot of ideas, and we refresh our knowledge about our site. It's not like I'll be just speaking and you'll be listening and sleeping maybe. I don't know. So I need your focus. I need to make it interactive. Okay. So prepare the list of hazardous areas, and then we're going to talk about the risk, like the list of risk, or the master list of risk involved in hazardous areas. Then, of course, in the second area, we will be uh, getting capability, how we gonna identify the sources of ignition, like any sort of area where we believe automatically some ignition can be there based on, because of different technical reasons, or because of the hot works we perform in those hazardous areas, or some of the things we don't follow and don't implement based on the international standards, and that's why maybe we use some equipment which are not compatible, not in line with international standards, or they are substandard, or might be they are expired, you know, and can create some sort of fire or explosion, God forbid. So in that context, we are going to discuss about the sources of ignition, maybe a poor housekeeping as well, and the types of explosive atmosphere would also be under discussion, inshallah. And third part of this module number one is all about the importance of area classification and in risk management, because ultimately we have to manage the risk. Risk cannot be eliminated. Yes, if any risk associated with any hazard, if you eliminate the hazard, associated risk would also be eliminated. But otherwise, if you are playing with hazard and still working along with those hazards, the risk would also be there. And we all are somewhat facing the risk in our surrounding. No one is free from any risk. Either you are driving, you are working uh, as a safety engineer, or you're working as a confined space supervisor, or work permit receiver, or issuer, whatever your position is. If you are directly or indirectly have some activities within the hazardous areas, Definitely, you have to understand the importance of area classification or risk management. How you're gonna manage those risks, what level of controls you're gonna implement, how you're gonna calculate the probability, the severity, and ultimately you will be evaluating also either the additional, sorry, the current controls are good enough to control those risks, or you have to plan some additional controls, because additional controls will bring down, like converting reds kind of a rating to the green area. And that's our ultimate purpose. And maintaining those green areas or bringing the risk at negligible or acceptable level, that is our ultimate goal. So bringing it down somewhat, we implement some controls and we bring it down. But maintainability and sustainability of those controls and making safety and quality a habit of like our daily habit, that is the case where we have to focus more, right? So that's why ultimately it's a risk management. It's not like you just have a list of hazards, a list of risks, list of unsafe acts, or list of unsafe conditions, in other words, a list of hazardous areas. But imagine if you have no proper hierarchy of control implemented, or no proper precautions or SOPs or safety rules, safety policies. If they are not implemented, all in vain. You just wasted your time, no doubt. But that's also give you insight that you have done something. But ultimate crux is to achieve a zero accident club, zero incident club. That can only be achieved if you focus on effective risk management. So, in that context, we have to understand the importance of area classification. And if we understood, of course, we'll be right capable how we gonna manage the risk, any sort of risk, especially in hazardous areas. Okay. And there are a lot of hazards which are invisible, a lot of risks which are invisible because you can't see with your eyes. That's why we need authorized gas tester who are going to tell us, what is the oxygen level, what is the level of H2S, or any, and or maybe a SCADA system to tell us what is going on, and even different technology and AI tools and robotic technologies and drone technologies, they are helping us a lot just for identification of any, giving us alarm sounds because of the safety sensors and devices, which is already implemented. Like two of the Aramco projects, I still remember they gave us a presentation that they have implemented 2,900 gadgets and controlling the complete site, you know, through technology and even on-spot a recognition of unsafe act or unsafe conditions, and immediately communicating to the concerned parties to take special care and don't do anything which can be damaging and can be fatal even, because it's a hazardous area. It's hard to get a second chance. So that's why ultimately we have to make sure after this module one, we should be capable enough to understand the complete mechanism of risk management, effective risk management. So, can you give some examples of explosive atmosphere? You know, have you ever heard the fire triangle or fire, tetrahedron, or the at least the fire triangle? How fire started up, or what is a fire? These questions, even though seems like very simple terminologies, but when we talk about hazardous areas, these simple terminologies become like so important to understand and refresh in our mind how heat, fuel, and oxygen, when they are meeting together in any shape and creating a chemical reaction, chemical chain reaction, and creating a fire incident and maybe an explosion. So that's why we need authorized gas testers to help us to identify, especially those hazards and risks which are invisible. And I call them invisible enemies also. The visible enemies are not, to be very honest, they're not dangerous because they are visible to you. You can manage them well. But invisible enemies in shape of gases, toxic gases, or poisonous gases, or or toxic gases, in other words, those invisible enemies, only the gas tester can tell us, and then accordingly we can have our roadmap, safe roadmap to complete our project. That's why the work permit system in restricted areas or hazardous areas is well, let's claim it's a backbone. If you implement effectively the work permit system, like how you're going to issue the hot work permit, cold work permit, confined space entry permit, or if any isolation or lockout tagout required. Then in Aramco, you have equipment opening line break permit, and somewhat you have special permits if radiations are involved. Sometimes separate permit for electrical works. Don't take every example and linking with Aramco only. There are plenty of other brands, and they have maybe more than 20 different permits, like work at height, separate permit, you know, electrical work, separate permit, excavation. For excavation, they have separate permit. So just don't take this training only linking with Aramco. Think little broadly and make sure that every activity you are controlling through work permit system, And work permit system, to be very honest, sometimes I say if you don't do anything in safety, but you implemented the work permit system with better, uh, effectiveness, trust me, 90% your site, your company will be safe. If you only implement one SOP, one procedure, the work permit system or permit to work, whatever the guys are going to do in hazardous area, you don't let them go there without a permit. And yes, we all know permit cannot be issued until we identify the hazards, until we plan proactively all the controls. And controls means the approaches means we have two approaches, like either reactive or proactive. Proactive means before something happens, before any incident or accident happened, we have to identify, we have to do risk assessment, we have to identify the hazardous areas related to the hazards and the risk also, and making our control plans, performing and implementing those controls, performing our toolbox meetings, having gas testing, even gas testing before issuing the permit, even before first entry. We are making sure our area is barricaded. We make sure that we have a complete set of competent individuals who are already trained, certified by the third party training institutes approved by Saudi Aramco, or even the third party institute approved by TVTC, at least. It's not like always you will find Aramco approved institutes. Any institute in Saudi Arabia have a TVTC license, go for it. You can learn a lot. There are plenty of safety trainings available with them. So, but Aramco in particular, they have approved, like for work permit system, they have approved maybe more than 10 different training institutes in different cities of Saudi Arabia. So in that context, of course, you should go to them because work permit, getting work permit, receiver approval from Aramco is a prerequisite requirement that you have to pass a third-party exam through the Aramco approved training institute with minimum 80% marks, and then still Aramco will not allow you to work. Then Aramco is the one getting another exam, scheduling another exam, then you have to achieve that particular exam with 90% marks minimum. And still Aramco is not satisfied. They will go for an interview, just to making sure that you are the right gentleman, the right person for the right job, with the right skill set and competence levels. And then they will allow you to start working as a Aramco approved work permit receiver. Just work permit receiver approval have a detailed kind of sequence uh, of steps, Same way, if you want to get approved as a safety officer, things are different. You have to pass the exam, you have to achieve and the interview, and then you have to be good enough with success stories, with some sort of experience, as a professional, as a safety professional. Then they will approve you as a safety officer or as a safety supervisor. Even you want to be approved as a QC, like quality control in mechanical, welding, pipeline, coating, different segments are there. So again, the criteria you have to achieve. Otherwise, it would be really hard for you to work in a Aramco network. Even in our case, we cannot work as a trainer until we comply Aramco requirements, until our profile is approved, until we have some success stories and some positive feedback from the trainees and the clients, then Aramco can give us more opportunities, by the way. So what I mean is only the competent individuals and professionals would be allowed. So make sure if you are planning your future in a Aramco network, you have to be competent enough and meeting Aramco requirements. Otherwise, they will not accept you. And anytime in future, even it would be a fatal failure, because sometime you somehow pass the exam, somehow you pass the interview also. But when you go on site, things would be every day, things would be challenging. And for that reason, if any failure they observe there, of course, you will have no place and your ID can also be cancelled. Sometime they will blacklist you as a professional also. So you have no other choice other than this, that you have to be competent. Competent in risk assessment, competent in hazard analysis or hazard identification, and especially in restricted areas. Any project you are going to perform, any activity you are going to perform in hazardous area, make sure you are the right gentleman with right set of skills, technical, soft, and even profession based, whatsoever profession you have, but you are part of that project, make sure you are the right gentleman. But if you are the safety professional or project engineer or project manager, or you are serving to different brands, in high hazardous industries, then of course you must be capable how to identify the hazardous areas and what is their classifications, and for each classified area, what important control measures uh, by following the hierarchy of control you have to make sure is well implemented, not only by you being followed, even being followed by everyone. That's why I always mention safety is the responsibility of everyone, janitor to general manager. Everyone is responsible for safety, right? So it's a teamwork. So, guys, I hope this module number one, you would have some understanding. And yes, in Aramco, it's quite easy because they will identify the hazardous areas. They will tell you what permit you need. They already standardize all the activities, and they know for which type of if any activity you believe can create an ignition or uh, you know can have a heat even, or there can be a reason of fire, so they will issue the hot work permit. Like if any welding activity is there, or you have welding project, you have abrasive blasting, you have somewhat any sort of maybe a spray painting or coating whatsoever. So based on the activity, they will see what permit you need. So Aramco is a good guide for all of us, but unfortunately sometime uh, we don't learn actually, because we believe Aramco have a lot of standards, a lot of technical kind of detailed GIs, and we believe we don't have time, to study all those. If you don't have time, then today or tomorrow you have only one way to repent that why you stop your learning, because Aramco is a global brand with 85 years experience. It's one of the richest company, one of the most distinguished brand in the world in oil and gas industry. So they cannot accept any sort of incompetent individuals working within their network. So it's your necessity, and necessity is the mother of invention. In that context, bear in mind for each module of this training, you have to learn with full focus. That's why I'm requesting again and again, if you are having some spare time, then watch this video, but make some notes, and whatever points I'm highlighting, speaking up with examples, with some sort of experience based on my experience. And I'm sure your experience would also be filtering few of the technical points in your mind. So make some notes and be more productive, be more safest professional actually. If you're serving to Aramco, Sabe, Sadara, Sastre, for any other high hazardous industries, including especially the gas distribution companies or the pipeline companies, or even any sort of refineries or the rig sites, like, because there is the oil rig sites and there are the gas exploration rig sites. So in that context, bear in mind things are not similar everywhere. So, according to the nature of the project, you have to improve your learning. Like in hazardous areas, even the permit should not be issued until you have done proper lockout, tagout, or isolation, like disconnection of all sort of energies. Any energy, maybe electrical, maybe mechanical, maybe gravity, motion, pressure, some sort of uh, even any chemical can be there. So in that context, even the thermal energy, God forbid. So in that context, bear in mind all those energies have to be disconnected. That is the real concept you truly need to understand whenever you have any sort of project in hazardous areas. And that is the ultimate crux of module one, that your concepts related to hazardous areas must be clear enough. And in Aramco, all hazardous areas in shape of restricted areas is well identified. Not only in Aramco, in all high hazardous industries, they have clearly barricaded. Some companies I noted with red color, red paint, even the barricades are red painted. So everybody understand wherever you have red paint or kind of red color, everybody knows it's dangerous, right? And not only barricade, even they have warning signs, plenty of slogans, plenty of posters are mentioned there. Even the rules are published through the notice boards. Still, even though you have toolbox meetings, an opportunity, where you discuss about the hazards, risk, and the best control measures to manage those areas. But since this training is all about hazardous area classification and safety, so we are talking about module number one, where I'm sure your concepts is well clear now, that you have to understand the concept of hazardous areas. So any area where you believe is hard to get a second chance, where the possibility of fire or explosion hazards are available, where the toxic or extremely flammable gases are available, those any of those areas we can claim those are the hazardous areas. And if they are mentioned with zone 0 or zone 1 or 2, be more careful, because that is another help you got from Aramco side or Sabic or others, because they already classified, but make sure they are well, labeled actually, because sometimes things are only mentioned on the drawing, but at the site, nobody knows is it zone 0 or zone 1 or zone 2. Like if you, can you give an example? Let me give you a simplest example. Imagine this is the oil tank, okay? It's a water bottle, by the way. But just imagine this is the oil tank, and inside you have or oil and gas storage tank. Inside you have either oil or gas, and you stored it. After exploration, after refining, you stored it, and then you started distribution. I'm not talking about distribution yet, because distribution required a lot of pipelines to be penetrated, spread up, and then wherever this, just bear in mind, wherever this liquid or gas is traveling or being stored, this gas or petrol or diesel or oil itself is nominated as a zone 0. So I hope you will remember that, because any smallest ignition or even heat, sometime a terrible explosion, a terrible kind of fire incident could happen. That's why we nominate them as a zone 0. Now, if this tank have some sort of vent holes or flares, in other words, and means just to maintain the internal pressure. If it is over pressurized, sometime we are bound to waste, or burn some of the gas or liquid. That's why in the oil and gas refineries, you will observe, or the separation plants, you will observe some of the gas always burning at the top. So any overpressure is there, it start burning, but it should be burned under permissible limits standardized by PME, like Presidency of Environmental Metrology or EPD, Environmental Protection Division of Aramco. Same way, the environmental engineers are there at every site, in every company. So they should be capable enough to identify that the gases which are being wasted or burned, they are under permissible limits, because we have no right as a businessman to damage the environment. So remember the concept of zone 0 and zone 1. I'm talking about the gases and the vapors. So any vapors, any sort of gas coming outside, even though we are burning it, and it's pre-designed also, intentionally designed. But if there is damage because of maybe the equipment got damaged because of any other reasons, because of the hydrocarbon inside, because of the methane gas itself, because most, and sometimes because of the H2S, hydrogen sulfide gas, because those are the corrosive gases. So sulfur definitely damage the metals. So if that internal thickness is damaged, make sure, we do a particular again testing and making sure we are taking preventions and putting some controls accordingly. And now the remaining is up to, like, and if the fumes are coming out, or the substances or the material is coming out and spreading up to 1.5 meter, this up to 1.5 meter we can claim is zone 1. But up to 6 meter, even up to 10 meter, we can claim it's all about zone 2. I hope you will remember that. So up to minimum up to 6 meter, maximum up to 10 meter, consider is a restricted area. So any activity within this area, you have to be careful. No heavy equipment nearby, no person should go, and the whole area must be barricaded in shape of line of fire to be defined through barricading. And of course, if any activity we are going to perform, since it's a restricted area or hazardous area classified with zone 0, zone 1 or 2, we cannot go without a permit. And permit should never be issued until we have lockout, tagout, and isolation. Either we have maintenance project or construction, or this inspection, whatever activity, sometimes shutdown is there, overall preventive maintenance going to happen. It's a long-term project. So in any shape, make sure we don't start our work until we get the permit by the client. Sometimes client trust you and they make you the issuer. Like in most of Saudi electricity projects, I noted the contractor project managers are the issuers, and the safety team mostly are the receivers, and sometimes the site supervisors, they are the permit receivers, whosoever is there. But make sure without gas testing, we are not issuing the permit. Without isolation and lockout tagout if needed, we are not issuing the permit. Without proper method statement, risk assessment, and some other studies, again, and verifying the competent individuals going to work in hazardous area, we do not issue the permit, because permit is kind of a legal agreement between the contractor and the client. If anything happens, the both way, the both parties, can definitely pursue even the court. So it's a legal document. So if you are the permit receiver, don't sign it until you verify, yes, all the hazards authentically are identified, all the risks are evaluated, and then the control measures are well implemented. And of course, once the permit is issued, then make sure the toolbox meeting is there, the area is well barricaded. You make sure the PPs are there. You know how to get enter. If it is a confined space, and any place which is not designed for human occupancy, we all know is a confined space. So if you're going inside, so before first entry, again, gas testing is mandatory. You are coming back and you don't work in a confined space without a standby man. You don't work without a confined space entry supervisor. You also get help by your safety leadership. They are the one guiding you, supporting you, and making sure you are working in a safer environment. And yes, client is helping, your safety leadership is helping, your project managers are committed, and the affected employees who are technically going to work actually within those hazardous areas, they are safe before, during, and after. They are performing the project. Once the project is completed, uh, close out and make sure, everything is housekeeping, everything is done, and then later on close the project successfully and hand over the site to the client. That is the ultimate purpose. So whenever you accept any project in high hazardous industries, always try to know about the hazardous area classifications, which one is zone 0, which one is zone 1 and 2. Now my question is, since I explained with some examples also, any one of you can mention in the comment, what is zone 0 or what is zone 1 or 2. I'm talking about gases and vapors. Same way, if it is combustible dust, same way the 20, 21, and 22. Okay. But mostly in oil and gas, the major challenge is the oil and gas itself. Okay. Wherever they are traveling, wherever we are storing, transporting, all we have to make sure what is zone 0, what is zone 1, and what is zone 2. Oh, you have an opportunity to explain. Thank you very much and stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your learning passion. So if you're new to our channel, please subscribe, like, and share. This is our daily learning club, and I'm sure, like me, you will also be learning a lot. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself and stay tuned for vlog number 3, where we're going to talk about the module number 2. And let me mention what is module number 2 is interpret hazardous area classification system. How do we classify the hazardous areas? That's we will discuss in module number 2. Thank you very much, guys. Take care of yourself.